Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus reports. Today is October 4th, 2023. This is Ben and Barry on football.
What's up out there, everybody? This is your co-host. I'm Ben Dickerson. I am declaring the second preseason officially over. We're going into week 5. It's been a very, very tumultuous first 4 weeks in the season, as I can surely attest, because my picks have been crazy wrong. But I think I'm going to start to settle in this week. I was 10-6 last week. This week I'll do better. And like I said, I think things are starting to settle down. Cream is starting to rise to the top. We shall see.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have so much fun when I'm crunching these numbers because the surprises keep hitting me. And then little things like on Facebook, they have the memories that pops up of things you've posted in the past.
Yep.
Two things popped up about football. One, where I made note that the Detroit Lions, I believe at the time, were first in offense and last in defense. That was like
That sounds about right.
that was last year.
It was this time last year, right?
Well, it popped up this time, so it would have been
Right,
this
right,
time. Yeah,
right.
And
I
then
remember that.
also, and this popped up from I guess a little bit before, and it said, "My beloved Niners are officially last in net points in the league. We were 32nd." Hey, look, Chip Kelly era, for example. You know what I mean? We've gone through it. That's right. If you're a Niner fan, you've gone through it. You've been through the ups and the downs. You know what I mean? So that's why it's right there, baby, all the time. Look what my wife bought me. Let me see. Look what my wife bought me.
Duh. Socks.
Some Niner socks. Yeah, man. So, anywho, did you get a chance to take a look at intriguing game of the week last week that I wrote, the blog that
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Feedback, please?
That's the game I suggested, right?
No.
It's not.
The game you suggested, I talked about in the beginning of the blog.
Okay. I was thinking to myself, wait, isn't that the game I suggest? Okay, all right.
So anyway, yeah, you suggested the Giants game against the Seahawks.
I did?
Yes, you did. That's
No,
an
I
intriguing
didn't.
game because they're going to do something. They're going to.
I didn't know I didn't.
You're on video, baby. We got you.
Oh my
On
God. What
video,
was I thinking?
you
What was I
know.
drinking? All
And I
right. Well,
even
anyway.
I started the blog out saying, with apologies to Ben who suggested.
Oh God.
That's how the blog started.
Okay, so all right, we're done with that. So where are we going now?
So it was on the Dolphins Bills game. That was what the intriguing game of the week was for me last week, man. And when I looked at it, and remember, it was only like about a bias point of maybe one, something like that. It was really
Right.
close in the bias. And when I took a look at the two teams, it became obvious as far as net points is concerned that the Dolphins had basically two close games and one blowout.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bills was just blowing people out pretty much all their games. So their net points was pretty much steady. They didn't have a little bit, then a lot. You know what I
Right.
mean? So that and the questions about whether their defense, could match up and deal with them. Their defense has actually been looking pretty good. So I stuck with the bias, going with the Bills on that. But I did not expect the type of game that, it wound
Wow.
up there, and that's what
Right.
makes that stuff intriguing. So I actually patted myself on the back a little. I said, that was a good game. And they kept replaying the game, kept talking about it, replaying it. It made news, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because as I said in the blog, at the time last week, the Miami Dolphins were the most intriguing team in the league.
Everybody was on.
So you're like, what are you going to get from them guys? So that kind of worked out like that. Let's look at the numbers, Benny. Let's go to the numbers and see what we got. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are at my blog, the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings at sterlingnppr.com. And this is for wrapping up the NFL Week 4 of the 2023-2024 season. ANP stands for average net points. That is a differential, the difference between points for and points against. And later we'll also talk about turnover differential. Then, hilarious, Undisputed. Who's the guy that's still there? On Undisputed, the Cowboy fan. What's his name?
The Cowboy fan.
Yeah.
Skip Bayless.
Skip was literally talking to Sherman and the other guy that I always forget his name on the show. Keyshawn. And he's trying to tell them about how the Cowboys are so superior because they have the superior turnover differential. His whole argument was built on turnover. They couldn't really argue anything else. He had somebody find him a turnover differential stat, and he was back.
That was it. That's all he needed. That's all he needed. Hey, he's the classic give him an inch, he'll take a mile guy.
Oh my God. He was taking a fortnight and a mile, man. I'm telling you, it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. So let's look at the average net points right here, Benny. Number 1 is not Dallas. It is Buffalo. With an average net points of plus 21, and I always remind people that net points can go positive or negative. So they're just 0.2 points above Dallas, who I still believe are living off of the skew from game 1. San Fran comes in third with 16.8 net points. That's a plus. So that's your top 3, Buffalo, Dallas, and San Fran. So right there, my heart was not in the bias when I had to make that calculation for the Dallas game, right, Benny?
I got you.
You see, I wasn't liking that, but it is what it is. The numbers are what they are, Kansas City comes in 4th with plus 10.3 average net points, tied with Baltimore at plus 10.3 net points. So your first 5 slots, your last 2 of them are actually a tie. So that's Buffalo, Dallas, San Fran, Kansas City, and Baltimore. If you go down 6 and make it an even, it would be 3. No, let me see here. Buffalo's AFC, Dallas, San Fran, NFC, Kansas City, Baltimore. Everybody else through number 6 is all AFC. You got the 2 NFCs, Dallas and San Fran, holding sway in the top 5 there. Then here comes Philly at plus 7. Detroit right behind them at plus 5.8. Seattle coming in 9th at plus 5. And Houston, Benny, cracked the top 10 in net points with plus 4.3. Let's
CJ Stroud.
CJ Stroud.
CJ.
They have been officially renamed Niners South.
Oh, Jesus. You know what? You got to stop this. You got to stop this Niners stuff, man.
Oh, my goodness. I'm like, go ahead, CJ. Go ahead. Anywho, so Seattle in 9th place at plus 5, and then Houston at 4.3 plus. All right. Right behind them, Cleveland and Tampa Bay coming in at plus 4. The Rams at 13th place plus 3.3. The Chargers at plus 1.5. And Green Bay plus 1. Tennessee rounds out the top half of the league at 0.5 plus. That's plus 0.5 net points. So there's your top half of the net points. Got anything to say about this group? Or you want to go ahead through the second half?
I sure do. I'm going to tell you this. Fear not when you do the Bias Plus report, which I know you've already done. for the Dallas San Francisco game. However, what bothers me is San Francisco's net points are only 16.8. That makes me wonder about your defense. And I didn't think you had defensive worries, but now that I'm looking at the numbers and thinking back, I shouldn't even call them worries. But you should, with what you're doing on offense, that number should be much higher. And it probably will end up being much higher. That's really all I got to say. Everybody in that first column there has got an offense that they should be proud of. Maybe they wish they were more proud of it than they are at the moment. But those are all pretty good offensive teams right there.
Yeah, and I do understand what you're saying. What I was trying to take a quick look at, because when I saw one breakdown and they talked about the quality of the competition in those first 4 games and looking at their records of, the teams that they played, for example, you look at your Giants, your record, that's the team that the Cowboys played. They played the Jets. Look at their record. You know what I mean? They lost to the Cardinals.
Right.
You know what I mean? Who I think actually, and we'll talk about that later on, but I think that they might have shown a bit of a blueprint on how to attack the Cowboys.
Yeah, absolutely. Without question.
Without question.
And all that is fact. But I was thinking more along the lines of the Niners themselves as opposed to the numbers for Dallas.
Well, we're always going to be challenged in matching up with the top receivers in the league. That's just, it's tough to do that. We have decent cornerbacks and safeties and stuff. And we play a particular brand of ball and it's very aggressive. But you'll see where we stand on defense, and we'll have to maybe do a bit better, because Dallas can score. Let's look at the bottom half real quick. Any surprises between Indianapolis, Jacksonville, Minnesota, the Saints, the Cardinals, the Falcons, the Jets, the Washington Commanders, Carolina, Pittsburgh, Las Vegas, New England, Cincinnati, Denver, Chicago, and your New York Giants? Any surprises in that group? All in the negative from 0.5 down to minus 19 at the 32nd spot. I'm saying to myself, okay, I was a little surprised to see Pittsburgh there, a little surprised to see Cincinnati, but we understand what's going on with Cincinnati. I wasn't sure about the Saints, with Derek Carr, whether they were going, how strong they were going to be. But I'm actually kind of thinking that Indianapolis is not doing bad at only being down a half of a net point, considering that the number 1 pick in Carolina is down negative 8.8 average net points. And they seem to be struggling a little bit down there, trying to figure out how to do things to protect their quarterback, which, and in my estimation, they should have been thinking about that before they drafted. But that's a whole nother conversation. So that's your average net points, 1 through 32. Benny, you want to wrap it up?
I'm a little surprised at Jacksonville. Even though they're in the negative, they're not way in the negative.
That's true.
So there's still hope for them.
Yeah.
But some of these other teams do have glaring weaknesses that have driven them to the point where they are now. Not to say that none of them can come out of it, but as I look down the list, I mean, yeah, you're right. Pittsburgh is obviously not who we thought they were.
Especially from the preseason.
Yeah, they're nowhere near what we thought they were going to be. And the Saints, I thought might be a little bit better. I thought Derek Carr was going to bring a little bit more to the table, but he hasn't been great, and now he's banged up. So other than that, everything looks the way it should be.
Every time a quarterback or running back goes down, I think in my mind back to the contracts that they, and I think Barkley is probably the most vivid in my mind because everybody still thinks he should have got way more than he got, and we know his ability, but his availability is always now the question, and that's with every running back, and apparently with quarterbacks now to some degree. So, all right, but Benny, I have to say this: you jumped off the Buffalo bandwagon, went to the Cincinnati bandwagon. And I was like giving you praises like 2 weeks ago. I was like, okay, look like you might have made it.
Believe me, I got something to say about that when we get to the Bias Plus reports. Trust me.
Okay, all right. Let's rock now to the points for. This is the scoring portion. All right, so again, I think the skew is in effect for Miami. They're in first place, averaging 37.5 points per game. Buffalo comes in second with 34.8 points per game. My Niners come in third at 31.3. And again, it's the amazing thing is we have a guy who was the last pick in the draft at quarterback, third in the league in scoring at 31.3 points per game, and actually only 0.3 points ahead of Dallas at 31 points per game, and Philly coming in at 29.5 rounds out your top five in scoring. 37.5, 34.8, 31.3, 31, and 29 for Miami, Buffalo, San Fran, Dallas, and Philly. But that's your top five, Benny. What you got?
Well, Miami's got a skew with a 50-point win over a hapless Denver Broncos team.
No, but this
Buffalo
is offense. So that's not just a 50-point win. That's differential. That's 70 points they put
70
up.
points that they scored. Right. I understand what you're saying. That's true. That's a better way to say it. Scoring 70 points against the hapless Denver Broncos. Buffalo has earned all theirs, and San Francisco has earned all of theirs. Dallas also has a skew after a big blowout win first week of the season against the Giants, and Philadelphia has earned those. So to me, off the top of my head, looking at this, the true top five or the top three of the true top three of the top five is Buffalo, San Fran, and Philadelphia.
That's an interesting way to put it. That's an interesting way to put it. And what you said about my Niners, let's go back to the net points real quick. Philadelphia, 7 plus 7 net points. We're plus 16.8. But the team that was in the NFC Championship and beat us last week is only plus 7. And they're scoring basically 30 points a game, 29.5 points a game.
Just like you are.
Yeah. But they're only plus 7.
Right. So the difference is
defense.
We didn't get to it yet. Keep going.
Getting there. We're getting there. LA Chargers coming in at 7th for 27.5 points per game. The Detroit Lions scoring 26.5 points per game. Kansas City, 25.3 points per game. And Denver in the top 10 in scoring, tied with Green Bay at 25 points per game. They did put up 20. They did put up 20 even in that loss. They put up 20.
I got something to say about that too. I'll give you a preview. It ain't Russell Wilson.
It ain't just Russ, eh?
It ain't just Russ.
Interestingly, Baltimore coming in at 24.8 points per game. That's that new offense. Just a tad, 0.3 points ahead of the LA Rams. My surprise of the year so far, at 24.5 points per game. And what's the young man's name that you talked about? Puka Nacua. AR, they got a new AR down in Indianapolis, man. They got the AR that's squared down there with Anthony Richardson coming in at 24.3 points per game. That's not bad, rookie. Houston, another rookie coming in at 24 even. And Minnesota, another rookie. Oh, no, that's a veteran coming in at 22.5 points per game.
You got to stop this, man. You're freaking killing me.
You gotta love him. I love him. You know I love him. Anywho, that's your top 16. Benny, got anything to say on that?
No, the main thing is that top five. I just had to reshuffle that top five for you. Everybody else is falling into place. Like I said before, when we were just doing the net points, most of those teams are pretty prolific offensively or have a tendency to be prolific offensively from week to week. If they miss a week here or there, they come back. Such as, and that's the reason why you have a team like Denver,
right,
that can get into the top 10, as badly as people talk about them and as bad as their record is, they put up points. Green Bay, even with Jordan Love, they've put up some points.
Put up some points, yeah.
Baltimore, little resurgence. That offense may be starting to take shape. They put up points.
Still, I've just seen him make some throws still that make me go, that arm is ridiculous. It's almost like he could still, if he put it under more, it's like a superpower that you have to control, you know.
That's a good analogy. Because his arm is crazy strong.
Crazy.
But you look at when he lets the ball go, sometimes you go, it looks a little ugly, but that ball does crazy stuff, man.
That ball
Crazy speed, crazy distance, and crazy accuracy considering how crazy his form looks.
I know. And he's still smart enough to throw to his tight end. As long as he got that tight end, that's almost like the Brady Gronk connection as far as I'm concerned.
They're actually just picking it up because the first three games, I know people that had Andrews in fantasy were very disappointed because he wasn't finding him. But now, it's back on now.
It's on. So there you go with Baltimore. On the bottom half, Benny, we're kicking it off with Washington, the Commanders, putting up 22.3 points per game.
Pretty good.
Joshua Dobbs, 22 points per game. Yeah. Arizona. He's 1 point ahead of Baker Mayfield.
We ain't tanking.
No, not at all. Now, Jacksonville, again, a little on the modest side.
Just a little.
20 points. Their rank is 20, and that's what they're averaging, 20 points per game. 21st, Cleveland at 19. Chicago at 18.8 points per game. Tennessee at 18. So Chicago's ahead of Tennessee. Carolina, 16.8. Atlanta, 15.5. And that's tied with Pittsburgh, New Orleans, Las Vegas, and the Jets, all at 15.5 points per game. That takes you down to 29th place. 30th is New England at 13.8. 31st is Cincinnati at 12.3. And 32nd is the Giants at 11.5. I saw a rumor that I could not confirm, but it was so juicy, I just have to mention it.
Right.
And it was that potentially Belichick is going to have the GM duties taken away from him.
When did you hear that?
Oh, this week. I told you I could not confirm it. Yeah, but somehow there's that question. That maybe he's got too much going on. They might need to start to diversify the thinking and the brain trust there.
So Kraft is growing a pair, huh?
It would take that, wouldn't it?
Because he's the only one that's over Belichick.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So let's keep an eye on that.
All right.
It's an unverified rumor. That's how we're going to leave it. All right. So there's your scorers.
Right.
Who are your defenders? The Sterling Net Point Power Rankings average points against APA. Dallas coming in at first place again with the skew in place. Buffalo, that's a true 13.8 points per game coming in at second place. Baltimore, third place, 14.5 points a game. My San Francisco 49ers are tied with Buffalo at 14.5 points per game. And then your fifth place is actually tied with sixth place at 15 points per game. You've got Cleveland Browns and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs, Benny, who just got their defensive tackle back. Chiefs can afford to be a little modest on offense right now while they're getting it together if their defense is playing like that. Tampa Bay is seventh, giving up 17 points per game, and rounding out the top quarter, 1 through 8, is Tennessee at 17.5 points per game. So that's your top 8 right there. If you want to get to your top 10, you add New Orleans at 19 points per game allowed, and Atlanta at 19.3 points per game allowed. That's your top 10 right there. Dallas, Buffalo, Baltimore, San Fran. That ain't bad, Benny. 14.5 points per game.
Yeah, it ain't bad.
That ain't bad, Benny. And who was the other team that I was saying with the points? That was Dallas, right?
Yes.
Okay, 10 points per game, but that's skewed. That's a skewed number.
Well,
They started out with 0. Their first game.
True. That's true. They got a shutout in the first game of the season, so I guess you can still say the skew is in effect. But we're going into week 5 now.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to have to let the skew thing go and really honor their defense for how strong they are, because they actually are a strong defense.
Well, we'll look at it because,
the number I think is still a bit high because of the shutout first game.
We will be able at some point, and we can do it now. I haven't done it yet, but look at, let's say, the last 3 games, which would eliminate the first game.
Yeah, when you start doing your 3-game thing,
that kind of stuff.
That'll bring that into light.
We'll see a little more of the skew get eliminated. But top 10 ends with the Falcons at 19.3. Top half is Houston, Jacksonville, Detroit. Detroit's in the top half at 20.8 points per game. The Jets, 21. The Rams, 21.3. And Philly at 16, giving up 22.5 points per game, Benny. That's how you wound up with a net point of only 7.
Right.
You're scoring in the 20s and you're giving up in the 20s.
Here's the funny thing. You know, we live in Philly. I listen to talk radio all the time. People are calling up and they're belly aching about the offense. It ain't the offense. It's the defense.
The defense.
They're having some problems over there. I don't know if it's the coordinator. I don't know if it's the scheme he's trying to run. I don't know if it's the players. I know they had a couple injuries. I know they're not real happy with their safeties right now. But if anything ain't right in Philly, it's the defense. The offense, I think, is doing a normal thing of finding themselves. Are we a run team? Are we a passing team? Are we going to be really balanced? You know what I mean? They're like kind of here and there, game by game. But nobody can stop the Eagles from scoring. That's why they have the record that they have. You know what I mean? But defensively, I think they've got some issues. I'll tell you another team that's got some issues. That would be the Cleveland Browns. Just a week ago, the Cleveland Browns were almost number 1 in every defensive category. They were at least top 3 in every defensive category. Now, some of the categories we don't count, okay, because we do points against. But I'm talking about sacks, interceptions, fumble recoveries, all that kind of stuff.
All that stuff,
well, that comes under turnover differential.
Mm-hmm.
But points scored against them, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
They faltered a little bit this weekend and making me kind of raise my eyebrow and look at them funny. Tampa Bay is still kind of living off the old Tampa 2 thing. That's how great that defense is. It still works. Even though you got lesser players, somehow that scheme is still holding teams down. Atlanta.
Well, they caught a bit of a break against the Saints, right? Because Carr got hurt.
Yeah, well,
there.
Carr got hurt because they beat the crap out of him.
Well,
So their pass rush might be on fumes, but it's still working.
okay.
And them linebackers, they're not young anymore, but they're still working.
They're still fast.
Right. They're still fast. They can still cover and they can still blitz when they need to. Jacksonville, again, I'm a little surprised at Jacksonville. I thought they'd be much better this year. I really did. Atlanta's a little better on defense than I thought they would be. And Houston, any place you see Houston is a surprise to me. I don't know about anybody else, but these guys are balling, man. They're balling. Keep an eye on them.
That's what you're talking about?
Who? Yeah, no, stop that. Oh, and last but not least,
okay,
keep an eye on Detroit. That defense is rounding into shape. They are going to be surprising.
Well, that was the point that I was making when I said that, that memory came up and Detroit was first in offense and last in defense last year at one point.
Let's make a note.
Same time of year. So
let's make a note. We're going into week 5. I'm going to make a note here. Going into week 5, they are number 13 in points against.
Yep.
And I'm going to keep an eye on that. Watch them rise.
We were talking
rise up the charts.
We were talking before about the ranking differential. And obviously if you're first and 32nd, your ranking differential is what? 31? You know what I mean?
Right.
You want a ranking differential within the area, top 8 or whatever, or that 8 group, but hopefully in the top, not in the bottom, where you're in the same. A lot of come. But we were talking about Washington, for example, putting up 22.3 points per game. Who else were we talking about? Houston, 24 points per game. So yeah, some of these teams, are finding their way. I still think the magic number is always going to be 28. So anything below that is a challenge. Because anybody.
Yeah, it's a challenge, but my number is 21. You can't even think about winning an NFL game if you can't score 3 touchdowns on some sort of a regular basis. I know there's close games. I know there's 16 to 10 games and stuff like that. But if your offense can't somewhat consistently be counted on to score 3 touchdowns, you're not going to win many games.
Yeah,
and you're not going to be in contention to win games.
Yeah, my numbers is to be in contention to win the Super Bowl, not just games. So I'm saying 28.
Right. And that's an average that you need to hold on to for most of the season.
Now this is where Skip Bayless lost his mind here, Benny. He saw the average turnover differential for Dallas in number 1 at plus 2.3 turnovers per game in their favor.
Does he not realize how he's holding on to a thread, bro?
He's a skewed thread. Those numbers are skewed also.
Yes. Well, I mean,
Danny Jones goes out pretty nicely. I think he had at least 2 turnovers, didn't he? When the Giants played Dallas?
I believe they'll hold on to that for a while. Last week they had a good game. Last week they scored 2 defensive touchdowns.
But they played who?
Oh, do you want to go there? The bottom line is they're there. And they continue to be there.
Tampa Bay is in second place at plus 1.8. Buffalo in third place plus 1.5. Then your Chargers, the LA Chargers, are tied with Seattle at plus 1.3 turnovers on average. 6, 7, and 8, you have a tie with Philly, Jacksonville, and San Francisco at plus 1. And again, turnover differential is like net points. It can go positive or negative. Got a lot of ties here, Benny. 9th through 11th. Houston, Arizona, and Pittsburgh tied at 0.8.
It's Houston again.
Houston again, yeah. Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Green Cincinnati and Indianapolis tied at 0.5. That's 12th and 13th place. Green Bay at 0.3. That's a plus in 14th place. Then we have a five-way tie. Baltimore, New Orleans, the Jets, Miami, and Tennessee all breaking even at 0. So that takes you deep into the second part of the league, the bottom half. But bottom half is, as far as negatives are concerned, really starts with Carolina. They're tied with Atlanta at minus 0.3. You got a tie between Denver and Detroit at minus 0.5. You got a three-way tie with Kansas City, the Rams, and Washington at minus 0.8. New England's coming in at minus 1.3. Chicago 1.5. Cleveland 1.8. And your bottom three, the Giants, Minnesota tied at minus 2, and the Vegas Raiders tied at not tied, but at minus 2.3, coming in at last place. You had texted me about the rookie quarterback getting a shot to play with the Raiders, and I had said I was interested to see how he looked. I'm sure you'll talk about that in the bias plus portion of the game, so I'll hold off on that.
Okay.
I thought it was interesting. All right, so that wraps up week 4 as far as the Sterling net point power rankings. That's your average net points, average points for, average points against, and the average turnover differential. And you can find that all at sterlingnppr.com. Remember to click the like button and the follow button and any of the other buttons. Leave some comments. Let us know what you think. I mean, these are all facts. So, we're just giving you the facts and allowing you to take it where you want to take it, or where you think you see potential. But when you see Philadelphia and Jacksonville tied at +1, tied with San Fran, that means something. These teams are playing some defense. They're coming out on the top half of it in terms of turnovers, and that means points. All right, Benny, let's move on to the bias plus reports. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
So here we go, Benny, for the bias plus reports. NFL week 5 of the 2023-24 season. We're going to kick this off with the Chicago Bears at the Commanders. The bias plus score of 10.5 favors the Commanders, Benny.
10.5, huh?
Commanders.
Okay, that's decent. So the Commanders have the bias. They're also at home. So let's see what these teams did last week. So last week, in the battle of the winless, the Bears lost again, 31-28 at home to the Denver Broncos. I feel bad for the Chicago fan. Well, actually, I don't feel bad for them, but yeah, I feel bad for the Chicago fans. Chicago put up 21 unanswered points in the second quarter of that game, and another touchdown in the third quarter. Justin Fields was a stellar 28 of 35 for 335 yards and 4 touchdowns, clearly his best game of the season. He threw 2 touchdown passes to tight end Cole Kmet, who had 131 yards and a touchdown. Also 131 yards and a touchdown for DJ Moore. DJ Moore has been a big pickup for them. It's a shame his talents are being wasted somewhat, but he has been having some good games. 103 on 18 carries for Khalil Herbert, which was a great day also. So all their offensive weapons, all their main offensive weapons, pretty much got off. It was a pretty good offensive explosion for the Bears. Unfortunately, the defense didn't show up. Denver scored touchdowns in the first and third quarters and then put up 17 unanswered in the fourth quarter. Big fourth quarter for Russell. Strip sack, scoop and score, tied it at 28. Then the Bears' ensuing drive stalled, and they elected to go for it 4th and 1 at the Denver 28-yard line, which I don't think was a terrible thing. Instead of kicking a field goal, though, which they could have done, and they didn't get it.
Benny, you're the coach. What do you do?
At that point in the game, I think I'm kicking the field goal, tell you the truth.
Me too. Me too. I
Yeah,
thought that was an easy choice. You take the points, you know, and even if they come down and kick another field goal, it's overtime. You still got an opportunity to win.
right. But I
And
kind
I
of
didn't think that the
understand.
play was that great.
It wasn't a great play, but I kind of understand how the coach was feeling. Khalil Herbert had had a really good day that day. They tried to run him. Like you said, it wasn't a great play. He got stopped. They turned it over on downs. Kicker Will Lutz converted a field goal with less than 2 minutes remaining, and Justin Fields got intercepted on the Bears' final drive. That basically was it for the Bears. Now, the Commanders took the undefeated Eagles to overtime. Whoa.
Yeah.
Before, yeah, before they came out on the losing end of a 34-31 game. So it's a great effort by the Commanders. After throwing 4 interceptions and being sacked 9 times last week against Buffalo, Sam Howell helped the Commanders execute a couple of time-consuming touchdown drives in the first half to take the score to 17-10 over the Eagles at halftime. The Eagles came back, took the lead late in the fourth quarter, but they had to really grind for it. They left just enough time and with good field position because of a penalty allowed. Oh, you know what? Let me talk about that. Who scored that last touchdown? There was a taunting penalty on the Eagles, AJ Brown. You cannot, I tell these guys on my flag team the same thing. You can't taunt, man. They call taunting now. They let you dance. They let you have group celebrations. They let you have all this other stuff. There's no need to taunt the other team. Okay? So he taunts. They get a penalty. That tacks on after the kickoff. Washington drives and gets the tying score and then takes it to overtime. Unfortunately, they ran out of gas. They had the ball. They punted. The Eagles won it on a Jake Elliott field goal. That being said, I really like what Eric Bieniemy is doing with the Washington offense. They
Really?
are at home, and the Bears are still winless. So I got to go with the Commanders.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm with you. I would have took the points on that. They want to you don't have to beat me, you know.
Right.
So okay, you going with the bias, going with the Commanders.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, is this our game in England?
This is our second game in England.
Yes.
Interesting because the Jaguars just played in England last week at Wembley Stadium. Now they're at a different stadium, but they're still in England. So they didn't come home. They stayed over there, which was smart.
Oh, really? They stayed.
Yes.
Okay, okay. That sounds good. That sounds good. Unfortunately, they got to deal with the Buffalo Bills right now, who's on a bit of
Yeah.
a tear after taking that track team and reminding them that this is football, not track.
Well, and they'll be at home.
And
Well, it's actually a home game. Neither team is at home
yeah,
because they'll be in England.
nobody's getting any home field advantage.
Right. Nobody's going to
Right.
get any home field
Then
advantage.
again, you never know because a lot of the people in England have adopted these American teams, man, and they come out in full regalia.
That is true. But from what I've heard, Jacksonville is very popular over
That's
there.
what I'm thinking. I mean, Buffalo
Yeah.
might be home,
Yeah.
but Jacksonville might have the fan base over there.
Yes, they may have the quote unquote home field advantage as far as the fan base is concerned. So last week in Wembley, the Jaguars beat the Falcons 23-7. After having trouble holding on to the ball last week, wide receiver Calvin Ridley, I don't know what the heck was wrong with him last week. I don't know if he got high before the game or something. He just couldn't hold on to the ball. But he caught a touchdown pass from quarterback Trevor Lawrence to go along with 3 Brandon McManus field goals and a pick 6 by corner Darius Williams to account for all of the scoring for them. Besides the interception, the Jaguar defense recovered a fumble. They defensed 9 passes. That's a lot. They had 6 tackles for loss. That's really good. And they had 7, count them, 7 quarterback hits and 4 sacks. So they put Desmond Ridder through the ringer. Now, just when I decide to disown the Buffalo Bills as my favorite to win the AFC, they explode for 48 points in a romp over the Miami Dolphins. The same Miami Dolphins that last week, before last week's games, or before the week 4 games, everybody on television was declaring was the greatest team since sliced bread in the AFC at least. Who would have thunk it?
No.
The Bills scored on 9 of their first 10 possessions. That's not including a kneel down to close out the first half of the game.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, that one possession, they took a kneel down to close out the first half. Other than that, these boys is ringing up numbers, lighting up the scoreboard. Josh Allen threw 4 touchdown passes. 3 of them went to Stephon Diggs. 1 of them was a magnificent twisting, turning, breakaway from 2 guys, long run down the sideline. Man, that's going to be on highlight reels forever. He also threw a bomb to Gabe Davis, and Josh Allen rushed for 1 touchdown also. James Cook had a great day on the ground. He scored, and kicker Tyler Bass made 2 field goals and was 6 for 6 on all his extra points. The defense was outstanding also. 9 quarterback hits, 4 sacks, 5 passes defense, and 5 tackles for loss. Great job by the Buffalo Bills. Although the Jaguars did the right thing by staying in England to get ready for this game, and although they may have more fans in the stadium, the Buffalo Bills are on fire right now. The only thing that can slow them down is if they don't take the extra day for travel for that flight. You know what I'm saying? I'm hoping that they fly over on Friday or Wednesday, on Thursday or Friday, so they can get there and have a whole day over there for the jet lag thing. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to be prepared for this. I'll take Buffalo to win this game.
Okie dokie, going with the Bills. All righty then. Next up, Carolina Panthers at the Detroit Lions. It's a cat fight. It's a cat fight. I suppose score 13.8 favors the Lions.
It's a cat fight.
The cat fight.
Wow. Okay, so Panthers got to go on the road and go to Detroit. It's pretty hot right now. How'd the Panthers do last week? Oh, they lost at home, 21-13 to the Minnesota Vikings. The Panthers' only touchdown was a 99-yard pick six by safety Sam Franklin Jr. Quarterback Bryce Young was 25 for 32 for 204 yards, but he got sacked 5 times. He got hit 6 times. He lost a fumble, and that fumble was returned 51 yards for another Vikings touchdown. Not a good day for the Panthers. Not a good day for the Panthers. Now, you know how we always talk about how the Packers own the Bears? Running back David Montgomery played in Chicago for 4 seasons before coming over to Detroit as a free agent, and he never experienced a win over Green Bay. After sitting out the win over Atlanta the week before, he came back from his thigh injury, and he led the way for the Lions in their 34-20 win over the Packers. That was the first time as an NFL football player he ever beat the Packers. And not only did he do that, but he had 32 carries for 121 yards and 3 touchdowns. When I say he beat the Packers, he beat the Packers. Now, the Lions are off to a great 3-1 start. They controlled the clock in this one with all those run plays, of course. 43 total rushing attempts for 211 yards. Jared Goff did throw 1 interception, but he also threw a touchdown pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown. The suddenly red-hot Lions defense, I talked about them a little earlier, tallied 11 quarterback hits and 5 sacks on Jordan Love, along with 6 passes defensed and 8 tackles for loss. Watch out for the Detroit Lions. And I'm going to say this now because I've already run through most of my fantasy teams. If you don't grab the Lions defense for your fantasy team, you're making a big mistake. That's all I got to say about fantasy.
All I got to say. So, and they're finally biting some kneecaps for real, eh?
They're biting some kneecaps for real.
Yeah, okay. Well, they were talking a good game before, but now it looks like they actually playing it. All right.
Yeah, I'm really loving the Lions right now. I'm going to take the Lions to win the game.
Well, I'm liking the Niners South, Benny. At the Atlanta Falcons, Houston Texans are favored by a split score 12.5. The Texans are favored over the Falcons.
Does that say 12.5?
Yes, it does.
Sheesh.
Yes,
The Houston Tech. Wait. The Houston Texans?
The Houston Texans.
What the heck is going on out here?
They got that infusion of that Niner blood down there now. It's rolling. And again, CJ Stroud said, I might not be like fancy and all of that. He said, but I'm accurate. I'm going to get the ball where it's supposed to be.
Right.
And that's all he promised. And I'm like, well, if you can keep that promise, you're going to be all right there, guy.
Exactly. So the Falcons will be at home for this one. But last week they played over in London. They played the Jaguars. They played very, very poorly in the first half of the game. They ended up losing 23-7. They didn't get a first down until early in the second quarter. Didn't get a first down until early in the second quarter. They put together a 75-yard drive to open the second half that ended with a Desmond Ridder pass to Drake London for their only points of the game. Ridder threw 2 interceptions and he lost a fumble. But rookie running back Bijan Robinson had a great day, 105 yards on 14 carries. He was the only bright spot in that game for the Falcons. Now let's talk about those Houston Texans. I refuse to call them, I'm not going to do it. The Houston Texans. How about that CJ Stroud? He's thrown, listen to this. He's thrown for the second most yards for a rookie in his first 4 games in NFL history.
That's right. History. Tell them about it.
Stroud has thrown for 1,212 yards, and the record is 1,386 yards held by Cam Newton when he was a rookie with the Carolina Panthers back in 2011.
Wow.
Yeah, that record's been around since 2011. CJ Stroud looking great. He banged the Steelers for 306 yards and 2 touchdowns in the Texans 30-6 win and has yet to throw an interception.
Amazing.
Dude, he's making history and he hasn't thrown a pick yet. I can't think off the top of my head who else hasn't thrown a pick yet.
Brock Purdy?
Maybe Purdy. I was going to say maybe Purdy.
Niners West?
That's the only one I can think of. They also got the ground game going a little bit because their ground game hasn't been great. They've been really leaning on CJ. But Dameon Pierce got 81 yards on 24 clock controlling carries, and 4 other players contributed for 139 total yards on the ground. I cannot lie. I got to go with the Texans on this one. I think they're going to go into Atlanta and they're going to do the damn thing to the Falcons, man. I think the Falcons are really, they don't really have a whole lot to hang their hats on except for Bijan.
What do you think about Desmond Ridder now?
I'm not going to say he can't be a successful NFL quarterback, but he's got to take his lumps, man. This is his first year starting. It's only his second year in the league. He's taking his lumps.
Says here that Arthur Smith is going to stick with Desmond as his QB1. That was a report from 2 days ago. So
that's cool. There's not a whole lot more he can do.
He always struck me as a very mature type person. I just don't know if he has, you know, the skill set physically, but we'll see. All
Yeah.
right, going with the bias, going with the Texans. Next up, New Orleans Saints at the New England Patriots. Bias plus score of 12.2 favors those Saints. Benny over the Patriots. Things seem to be falling apart a bit. Did they bench Mac Jones last week?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did. They did. Saints, Patriots. Yeah, things ain't looking too good in old New England. But I tell you the truth, things ain't looking great in New Orleans either. Derek Carr played with a sprained throwing shoulder. It's questionable as to whether he should have done that or should not have done that. But I guess their faith in Jameis ain't that great. They put him out there. He got cleared to play, so they put him out there. But I tell you what, him playing hurt is not going to get it for the Saints. Him playing 100% healthy wasn't really getting it for the Saints. So him playing hurt surely is not going to get it done. He's struggling. So is their offense. Now, Alvin Kamara hit the ground running coming off of his suspension. He totaled 24 total touches. That's carries and pass receptions. But he only accumulated 84 total yards from scrimmage. That
Wow.
just seems like such a waste. Your offense is in shambles right now, New Orleans. You got to get it together. Patriots wise, not a whole lot to say. Mac Jones threw a pick six and had a phone turned into a scoop and score before halftime of the game. And early in the second half, he was benched for Bailey Zappi. The Patriots are at home. The Saints have the bias. Derek Carr will be one more week healthier, but I don't know how much that's going to do. But because the quarterback situation is kind of up in the air with the Patriots, and I have little to no faith in Bailey Zappi, I'm going to take the Saints in this
one. Bailey Zappi versus Jameis. You going with?
I don't think it'll be Jameis. I think they're going to go with Derek Carr.
The hurt Derek Carr. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly. It's
especially if he's
kind
not,
of a mess right now.
He's got some lack of mobility. You know, the Patriots defense will be sniffing blood. Sniffing blood. Okay. You're going with the bias, going with the Saints?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine, Benny. What are your New York Giants going to do with those Miami Dolphins who have a bias plus score of 34.8 favoring the Miami Dolphins?
That's a big bias.
That's a bigger bias, no doubt about it.
But they've earned it. Although they got a bit of a skew, but they really took it to Denver. I don't look at that as much as of a skew as the Cowboys game over the Giants. But here we go with the Giants again. They looked absolutely inept at home against the Seahawks. That game was almost unwatchable for me. It hurt me to my heart to see them play that poorly. The offensive line is a total mess. They surely can't run block. And protecting Daniel Jones is a hope and a prayer. People are looking at me funny at the gym, man. It's almost like they don't even want to say anything to me. When they were playing good last year, people were like, yeah, they were talking trash to me. Now they won't even talk to me. That's how bad
trash, right?
Oh my God. It's like I'm not worth it. I'm not worthy of trash talk. We've hit a new low.
Oh my God.
Daniel Jones got sacked 10 times in one game. 10 times. And the Seahawks defense ain't that great. 10 times. He threw 2 interceptions and he lost a fumble. Talk about turnovers. The defense kind of actually played okay in spurts, but they gave up too many big plays. I don't even know what to say, man. I don't even know what to say. Let's talk about the Dolphins. What the heck happened to the Dolphins? They beat the Broncos by 50, and everybody declared them the best team in the AFC. Then they play division rival Buffalo, and they get dominated 48-20. And it wasn't that close as far as I'm concerned. Both teams scored on their first two possessions. Then the Dolphins offense stalled, and they punted their last three possessions of the first half. And before halftime, Raheem Mostert lost a fumble.
Yeah.
That dropped them. Yeah, that dropped them into a 31-14 halftime hole that they had to try to climb out of. The one bright spot on the team was Devon Achane, aka A-Chain, now A-Chan, who scored 2 touchdowns and gained 101 yards on 8 carries. That can't be right. That has to be 18. Did he get 101 yards on 8 carries?
I don't know. I can look it up, but I know one
He
thing.
might have, but I know I put it in my notes because I thought it was a really great effort. So that there's a good possibility that happened.
I think he's going to be the new starting running back.
Yeah, that's a good possibility. And coaches don't like when guys fumble. Mostert was having a really good season, but that fumble was kind of big. It kind of thwarted any comeback chances that they thought they may have had, really deflated them.
Yeah.
That being said, though, the Giants, I hope they have fun in the clubs down in Miami, because there's no way they're going to win that game. I got to take the Dolphins.
We say Giants going down there and have some fun while you're down there. Hey.
They might as well have some fun while they're
Get
down.
the clubs,
Get the clubs, man.
Hang out at the
Because you ain't gonna win the
game.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Oh my goodness! All right, going with the bias, going with the Dolphins.
Yes, sir.
Tennessee Titans at Indianapolis Colts. Bias plus score of 1. 1 favors the Indianapolis Colts.
Only one.
Just 1.
Just one. Okay, well, let's see. Colts are at home. Titans got to come in here, but Titans had a big win. Titans rebounded nicely from their week 3 beat down by the Browns and straight handled the Bengals 27-3. It was a bit of a surprise for me, I must say. Ryan Tannehill played much better in this one, throwing for 240 yards and a touchdown. Derrick Henry finally got loose. He had 22 rushes for 122 yards, and he threw a touchdown pass. Nice one, too, to tight end Josh Wide.
Yes, he did.
That was a nice little pass. He didn't fool anybody. When he took the handoff of the pitch or whatever it was, I could tell he was going to stop and throw it right away. But he did put up a nice pass. He fooled the other team anyway. Didn't fool me.
Well, after he ran around, through, and over top of them, in that one play.
Yeah. So now they got to go to Indianapolis and play the Colts division rivals. The Colts couldn't find the end zone in the first half at all. And by mid-third quarter, found themselves in a 23-8 hole. Then late in the third quarter, D-tackle Dion Odeyingbo, sacked Matt Stafford. They were playing the Rams, I'm sorry. Fell behind the Rams 23-8 last week. Got a sack on Stafford, hit him really hard, and messed up his hip. The very next play, Stafford threw an interception. Anthony Richardson then went to work. He scored on a 1-yard run to make the score 23-15. And with 11:45 left in regulation, he did that with 11:45 left in regulation. Plenty of time, right? If they could continue a comeback, which they actually did. With 1:56 left in regulation, he threw a touchdown pass to Alec Ogletree, and he completed a 2-point conversion pass to Michael Pittman. That tied the score at 23. He almost completed the comeback in the waning moments to win the game in regulation, but late in the game, he threw 3 incompletions, and they weren't able to take the lead and win the game. So they had to go to overtime. And in overtime, They never saw the ball and ended up losing the game. But a very valiant effort by rookie quarterback Anthony Richardson. This is a very tough one. Who has the bias? The Colts?
One.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I'm liking the Colts defense. I'm really, really liking Anthony Richardson. I think he's the second coming of Cam Newton. But the Titans seem to have righted the ship. It's not a big trip.
Derrick Henry, baby.
Derrick Henry seems to be getting it together. But I'm going to go with the bias on this one.
Oh, my God.
I'm going to go with the Colts. Yeah, I know. I'm kind of punking out. Kind of punking out. I'm going to go with the bias and take the Colts.
Take the Colts, eh?
Yes.
All right.
I like the Colts defense. I do.
Colts got a decent defense.
Yeah.
Let's see who's up. All right. This would normally be like the game of the week. We're not too sure about those Steelers right now. The bias plus is 16.6, favoring the Baltimore Ravens.
Let's see what I have on that one. Let's see. Well, the Steelers get to be at home for this one against division rival Baltimore Ravens, but that's not saying a lot because Steelers were pretty stinky last week. But anyway, let's talk about the Ravens. So the Ravens rolled into Cleveland down 2 starting wide receivers and their starting left tackle. And during the game, they lost their starting right tackle and 2 of their DBs got injured. Not to mention, and I talked about this before, the Browns defense came in ranked very high in almost every defensive category, especially their pass rush, which was really cooking. But guess what? Lamar Jackson didn't care about none of that. None of that. He ran for 2 touchdowns. He threw a touchdown pass to tight end Mark Andrews. And that was to open up a 21-3 lead before halftime. 21-3 before halftime. So he came out smoking. He tossed another scoring pass to Andrews in the 4th quarter, and that finished the blowout. Cleveland never had a chance. And I'll tell you the truth. There seems to be some controversy about Deshaun Watson and why he didn't play. Supposedly, the team doctors cleared him to play, but he chose not to play, thinking that he wasn't right. I believe it has something to do with his throwing shoulder, so I guess we'll hear more about that later.
Yeah, that was in contrast to the Bengals, where the quarterback, I guess he also got cleared.
Maybe he shouldn't have played.
Shouldn't have played.
But instead he did, right?
He did, yeah. So,
yeah.
And now you can add Derek Carr to that group, right?
Yes.
Questionable.
So it's question as to whether he'll play or not. But considering the fact that he did play last week, if he doesn't have any setbacks in practice, I'm going to assume that he'll go. Anyway, speaking of blowouts, the Steelers got waxed by C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans, 30-6. Believe me, folks, before this season started, I did not see this C.J. Stroud thing coming. I thought he should have been the first pick overall. I thought he was better than Bryce Young. I thought he was going to be really good his first year, but not this damn good. 30-6 over the Steelers. As big as a win as this was for the Texans, it was even a bigger embarrassment, I feel, for the Steelers. Kenny Pickett struggled mightily before leaving the game with a knee injury in the 3rd quarter. Mitchell Trubisky did nothing to even speak of when he took over. Head coach Mike Tomlin said during his post-game press conference, and I quote, "That was an ugly product we put out there today." Bad news for the Steelers, folks. I don't know if Trubisky's going to start next week or not. It don't matter to me. I'm taking the Ravens.
Yeah, come on, Benny. You got to take the Ravens. And let me say this real quick. We do the brain trust in the preseason.
Yes.
We don't really rank them. We just kind of say who they are and what, and their experience, their resume per se. But I want to start talking about these guys relative to not just the starting quarterback, who the backup is. Because that's where I begin to question some of these coaches, man. Because it's you can't have a backup that you don't believe in. That's
Are we talking about the Steelers?
it's the concept of bringing up Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but and again, this kind of goes along with what you're saying. But remember, they brought him in to be the starter. And Pickett, and then they drafted Pickett, and Pickett beat him out.
Well, you didn't help their case in. They brought them in to be.
Oh, I'm not trying to help their case. I'm saying, for whatever reason, they believed in Mitchell Trubisky.
I know.
They didn't get rid of him.
And so when we start to talk about the brain trust, and start to
you're right. You're
these
right.
guys a little bit, because it's obvious with so many of these teams. Once the starter's gone, their hopes fade. They have no real faith in the backup to be able to carry them, any level of distance, especially to the ultimate goal. Like Foles. So. Just you guys are picking these guys and putting them as your backups for all the different reasons. Who was it in Carolina? It's the Red Rifle, right?
Yeah, Andy Dalton.
Yeah, you expect him
Andy Ginger
Dalton, huh?
I said Angie Ginger Dalton.
You know what I'm saying? All right, you go with the Ravens.
Wait, I called him Angie. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. Andy the Ginger Dalton.
There you go. And then the event, you're going with the bias, going with the Ravens.
That is correct.
Makes sense. All right, let's take a look at the Cincinnati Bengals and the Arizona Cardinals. That's going to be a 4:00 game, Benny. That begins the 4:00. So, this is my favorite time on Red Zone because you only have like 3 or 4 games. So when they bounce around, you get a chance to really see a lot more of each one of the games. But the Bengals are playing the Cardinals. And this would not have happened last year, but this year, by a split score of 9 is favoring the Cardinals.
Okay.
Man.
I like it and I don't like it. Obviously, I don't like it because at the beginning of the season, I was really leaning toward the Bengals being my favorite to win the AFC and possibly unseat the Kansas City Chiefs because the Buffalo Bills couldn't seem to get it done. But at this point, I don't know what the Bengals are going to be able to get done. Joe Burrow is obviously not 100%, but the Bengals look like a true shell of themselves in a really bad 27-3 loss in Tennessee. Head coach Zach Taylor was quoted as saying something to the effect of guys not stepping up to make plays when their numbers are called. Trust me, as a coach, that's not something you want to hear as a team. Now, I don't know what I did with my notes about the Cardinals, but I will say this. I love Joshua Dobbs. That's my man. Okay? He's cool. He's cool as the other side of the pillow, as my other man used to say. And I really, really like the Cardinals. I'm going to make this one easy. I'm going to take the Cardinals to treat their home fans to a victory over the Bengals.
Over the Bengals, that would be it's in name that's good. Then in reality, with Burrow not being really Burrow, it's not that impressive. But a win is a win, and if you can beat the Bengals,
yeah. And I tell you what, their defense is really not playing well either.
Well, see, that's you can't have. That's
right.
All right, going with the bias.
Cardinals definitely know how to take advantage of a team that's wobbly.
Oh yeah, you gotta kick them while they're down, man.
Yep.
This is a game I got some questions about, Benny. I don't think this is going to be very easy for the Eagles, even though they are 10.9 bias plus score favorites over the Rams. That NFC West is no joke. The Cowboys went up there and and got turned around by the Cardinals, the Eagles better watch out because those Rams and Puka Nakua is going to be coming at them.
And Cooper Kupp is coming back.
Cooper Kupp's coming back, and
Cooper Kupp's been practicing all week. He's 100%, or as close to 100% as he's going to get.
They still got number 99 on their defensive line too.
Are you trying to speak something into the universe?
I'm just saying the Rams is no joke. You know, they're my surprise of the year, and you know, I think had the Niners not gone in and tune them up a bit, wouldn't be such a bias.
Well, sir, let's see. Eagles got to travel to the West Coast. They found themselves in quite a scuffle last week against the Commanders. Justin Hurts put up some nice numbers through the air. He was 25 of 37 for 319 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's a real nice day for Justin Hurts. A.J. Brown was on the receiving end of both of those touchdown passes, and he had a great day. 9 catches, 175 yards. The main problem for the Eagles seemed to be the ground game never really got going. And Washington's offensive coordinator, Mr. Eric Bieniemy, had a game plan that seemed to be really tough for the Eagles defense to solve. As the Commanders kept coming back and tied the game late to force overtime, the Eagles still looked like their heads were spinning a bit on defense. They couldn't figure out what the heck was going on. Luckily for them, Washington ran out of gas in overtime, and the Birds were able to come away with the win. As far as the Rams are concerned, Matt Stafford had to tough it out through an injured hip. He was looking really good early in the game, but somebody really whacked him. He came up with an injured hip, but he did not come out of the game. He stayed in. He played hurt, and he put away the Colts in overtime, 29-23. He opened the game with 4 straight scoring drives. Then he watched his defense pretty much piss it away as quarterback Anthony Richardson carved him up and brought the Colts roaring back to force the overtime. Stafford then methodically led the Rams down the field through a 22-yard strike to Puka Nakua for the win. All right. I know everybody knows I'm going to do this, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I'm picking the Rams to treat their fans, and I know there'll be a lot of Eagle fans there, but I'm picking the Rams to treat their few fans that will be there to beat the Eagles. I'm taking the Rams in this game. Yes, I am.
Aaron Donaldson with the Eagles tush push or the brotherly shove would be right in the middle of that thing, wouldn't he?
Yes, he would. Yes, he would.
I'd like to see how he handles that. All right. Well, anyway, you're going against the bias, going with the Rams over the Eagles.
Yes.
Okay, Benny. The Kansas City Chiefs at the Minnesota Vikings. Splash Plus score 16.4 favors the Chiefs. I don't know why I have a P in there, but it's the Kansas City Chiefs. And Vikings are on the negative side. Last year, they were kind of barely on the positive side with all of their games. Now they're barely on the negative side. What'd you think about that interception your boy threw last? Was that would you count that in the mind fart category?
Yeah. I'm gonna give you that one.
You'll give me that one?
I'm gonna give you that one. So at least the Vikings get to be home for this game. But anyway,
yeah.
Is this what is this, a 4:00?
Yes.
Okay, so it doesn't count as a primetime game. So
4:25, just outside of prime time.
Okay. So last week nobody thought that the Chiefs would have much trouble with the Jets, even though the Jets were at home. But Patrick Mahomes proved to be human, and he made a few mistakes to make this one far more competitive than most people thought it would be. He threw 1 touchdown pass but he threw 2 interceptions. The Chiefs actually coughed up a 17-point lead, but a questionable holding call negated a Mahomes interception, and the ensuing drive and field goal pulled out the win. And your boy, the Jets head coach, he lost his freaking mind. Even got a penalty.
Yeah.
Screaming at the refs. Yeah. That's, I guess, Eagles fans were like, here we go again with the Chiefs getting these little penny ante holding calls. But anyway, like Andy said, he grabbed a little bit of fabric, got caught.
Very little.
Now, the Vikings won a road game in Carolina over the Panthers, 21-13. It was their first win of the season. So after that spectacular, I don't want to say spectacular, after the really, really nice season they had last year, they just now, getting to week 4, won their first game. Kirk Cousins tried to give this one away, and I can't defend him on this one. He had to overcome 2 interceptions. One of them was a 99-yard pick six. He did throw 2 touchdowns to Justin Jefferson, but it was a blitz, sack, scoop, and score. There's that trifecta again. That started the comeback from 13-7 down late in the third quarter. Once they came back, the defense finished the Panthers off with a total of 5 sacks late in the game. So Panthers couldn't get anything going against the Vikings defense. I don't know that that's such a big plus for the Vikings defense. It's more like a negative for the Panthers. But I don't see the Chiefs having too much trouble going into Minnesota and beating the Vikings. So I'm going to take the Chiefs.
Going with the Kansas City Chiefs, going with the bias.
Yes.
Benny, you said prime time, right? Wait a minute.
Yes, I said this game is not prime time. Not that it was, even if it was, I wasn't going to take the Vikings, but I just was making sure.
Let me see. This is the Jets and the Broncos. Well, if you're with the Broncos, you're probably, yes, you're in the 4 o'clock round. This is probably the last of our 4 o'clock games. Jets and Broncos, bias plus score of 9 favors the New York Jets. And it's funny, they don't know what really to do with Zach Wilson. But I've seen some people draw some things that say that Zach Wilson still has promise. They still see some capability in him to be a starter. We know that Russ been putting up some numbers. Jets defense isn't exactly the Bears 85 defense, but they're still favored by a bias plus of 9. And again, Broncos would be on the negative end of that skew after the Miami Dolphins, put up big points,
right,
by 50. So that skew might be in effect, might be fooling the Jets a little bit there.
Could be. So they say there's no moral victories in the NFL. But if there was a moral victory, the Jets surely earned one, going down in defeat to the Chiefs last week, 23-20. Zach Wilson had his best game since taking over for Aaron Rodgers. Down 20-12 in the third quarter, Wilson drove the Jets down the field, threw a touchdown pass to Allen Lazard, then converted the 2-point conversion to tie the game at 20. Unfortunately, he fumbled late, and a questionable call allowed the Chiefs to drive for the winning field goal. Now, the Broncos finally won a football game, albeit a game against the Bears. There's a lot of things going wrong in Denver, but very little blame should go on Russell Wilson. That's just me talking. Now, yeah, they did beat the Bears, but Russell threw 3 touchdown passes and led a third quarter rally from 28-7 down. So the Bears actually came out and jumped on them early. They were up 28-7. Russ brought them back. A field goal and an interception late in the game sealed the deal for the Denver Broncos. Now they go back home with a win under their belts, and the Jets having maybe possibly shot their load last week against the Chiefs. Got to go out to Mile High. I'm going to take the Broncos to get their second win.
Going against the bias. Going with the
Yes.
Broncos. Going with Crystal.
Yeah.
Say it with me. Russell? Can you hear that?
What'd she say?
Wilson?
Wilson?
Oh my goodness. Okay, go with the Broncos. Go with that. You mentioned prime time. How about Sunday night? Is that prime time enough for you?
That would be prime time. Yes, sir.
Oh my goodness. The Dallas Cowboys coming into San Fran with my beloved Niners and a bias plus score of 9.2 favoring those Dallas Cowboys. It's skill, I tell you, it's skill. Nothing but the skew, Benny.
Cowboys get the bias. Wait a minute. Let me look at this again. 9.2. Not a super healthy bias, but a bias nonetheless. Now, let me say this. The Patriots never had a chance. And the Cowboys handed Bill Belichick his worst loss as a head coach last week. Good for the Cowboys. Dak only threw one touchdown pass, and he didn't have to work too hard as defense scored twice and totally wrecked the Patriots offense. They shut down the run game. They grabbed 2 interceptions, and they recovered a fumble. The defense totally took over the game, dominated the Patriots. They couldn't do a daggone thing, meaning that the Cowboys didn't have to do a whole lot offensively. That may not be a good thing for them.
And the Patriots have an actual offensive coordinator coordinating their offense now, not a defensive guy, right? And that
It
seems to be
doesn't
helping.
matter. They were totally outmatched. Mac Jones got benched, as we said earlier, for Zappy.
Really?
It's pretty ugly over there. I'm not gonna make a big deal out of this. 49ers are gonna beat the Cowboys at home, much to the delight of you and all the rest of the 49er fans that I know.
Get them, babies. Go get them. All right, Benny. Going against the bias, going with the Niners.
Yes, sir.
Oh, maybe we can sneak in a little bias buster. We'll see. Bias plus. Green Bay Packers at the Las Vegas Raiders. Bias plus score 21.2. 21.2 favors those Green Bay Packers, Benny. That would be Monday night.
That's a big bias. I don't know.
Matchup.
This game might be better than advertised. I don't know. Jordan Love threw 1 touchdown pass to Christian Watson. He ran for 1 also, but that was about it. He threw 2 interceptions, got hit 11 times, and sacked 5 times. And the Green Bay defense got run over basically single-handedly by David Montgomery. And the Packers lost to the Detroit Lions at home 31-20. It was another sad day for the now 1-3 Raiders. Jimmy G, I'm not sure what's got him down. Supposedly he's still in concussion protocol, and somehow he's got a splint on his non-throwing hand. So he's all jacked up. So that means we get to see rookie quarterback Aiden McConnell again, O'Connell again. And unfortunately, he had a rude awakening last week and found out that the regular season is a little bit different from the preseason. Game was kind of close, but damn, O'Connell got sacked 7 times. Khalil Mack alone sacked him 6 of those 7 times. So Khalil Mack had a day. He had a day.
Even though this is the second preseason, it is different than the preseason.
Yeah, this mess is over, man. I'm telling you, they got their butts whipped. He also threw an interception, and he lost 2 fumbles along the way. Raiders are a wreck. Packers aren't great, but they're better than the Raiders. I'm going to take the Packers to go into Vegas and win that game.
Going with the bias. Going
Yes.
with the Packers. All right. My son Chris will be happy to see that, especially if it comes to fruition. Benny, that's Monday night. That wraps the week up with the matchups and the bias plus reports.
Wait, the Raiders got a Monday night game? What the heck is going on out there?
Packers got a Monday night game.
Oh, well,
No AR. So, hey, like you said, it might be a better game than you think. Well, look, the rookie, at least the rookie has the 1 week under his belt. If he's not completely shot, maybe he comes in a little more composure,
well, they're going to have to put a running game together. Without a run game, they have no chance.
Well, Josh has already said he's effing tired of losing.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that doesn't mean he's going to break out.
They got to give him the ball,
True.
give him the ball. And they got to block for him. So there you
Hey,
go.
didn't Devontae Adams say basically the same thing?
Probably did. I wouldn't doubt it.
Oh, not good. Things are not good in Vegas.
I'm telling you. However, Benny, when we finish up the bias plus reports, there's one piece of celebration still left, and that would be the bias plus buster of the week, Benny. The Baltimore Ravens.
Lamar, let's go.
On the back end or the unfavorable end of a bias plus score of only 4.4. However, their net win was 25. So that gives them a bias plus score of 29.4.
Good job.
Best of the week. There were a few close scores in the high 20s or in the mid 20s rather, but this was
Right.
29.4 for the Baltimore Ravens. So
Great.
Congratulations to the Ravens.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, Benny, we're going to spend a few minutes on our social media on Facebook at Ben and Barry on Football. Let's just talk about a few things that hit the news, some current events, and hot topics. All right. The news isn't great, Benny. Raiders defensive end Chandler Jones arrested in Las Vegas. He violated a protection order with his girlfriend, made some very bizarre and unverified allegations about Raiders coach Josh McDaniels and the death of his former Patriot teammate, Aaron Hernandez, they say, and then started crying hysterically. Sounds like, was it CTE, whatever? I'm not sure, man, but this young man needs some help.
Wow.
He's a heck of a player, too.
Yeah.
So sorry to see that. Hopefully he gets the help that he needs. Russ Francis killed in a Lake Placid plane crash.
What?
Rest in peace, Russ Francis. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
49ers.
Patriot tight end. Yeah.
Yeah. Good tight end, man. And apparently he had just gotten into this business up there, and I think it had something to do with the planes and everything. So that's so sad, so sad. Matt Stafford says he will play for the Rams against the Eagles despite a hip injury.
Yep.
A hip injury?
He played through it.
Well, if there's one team that you really don't want to have to play through a hip injury again, it's like the Eagles. They got crazy defensive line and deep too, so they're going to keep coming. And then lastly, rest in peace, Tim Foley, former Miami Dolphin defensive back, passed away peacefully. So not a whole bunch of fun news, but other than to say that my man CMC, Christian McCaffrey, was Offensive Player of the Week. He had a heck of a game, man. A heck of a
Great game.
He really did. Other than that, do you have any final comments?
No, that's it. Looking forward to this weekend's games.
Me also, Benny. So as we always say, thanks for following. Please leave comments and suggestions. Hashtag football is life is our motto. And you can find us at www.benandbarryonfootball.com. Peace.